listening to Community Forum on KCCC 930 AM, sponsored by Eddy County, honoring God, country, and family, thriving with industry since 1889.
Thank you for listening to Community Forum. My name's Johnny Chandler. I'm the owner of KCCC 930 AM and the host of Community Forum. And with me, I think for the third time, is President Kevin Beardmore with Southeast New Mexico College.
Glad to be here today, Johnny. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate you being here, of course. And the very first interview I ever did with you was the precipice for creating a bit of a relationship between the radio station and Southeast New Mexico College. It's been thriving. I hope you see the same thing, but we really appreciate it. And I think we've been able to promote the college a little more than anyone else in the community.
Yeah, we appreciate it greatly. It's nice to be here in your office, here on campus, and sharing a little bit more about what's going on.
Right. So let's just get started as far as how long has Southeast New Mexico College been an independent institution?
Well, that's an interesting question because the legislation happened in 2021, but then the legislation specified it wouldn't happen until April 10th of 22. But then even when that happened, there was still a lot of things the vestiges of the former relationship with New Mexico State to be removed. Really, if you want to think about it, fall of 2023 is when we were fully independent. We were on our own, standing on our own legs, not relying on anything from New Mexico State. And that's why we gave them notice. So it was a 90-day notice. And so before we closed out 2023, we were completely, finally independent. We had our own separate accreditation from New Mexico State University. We've been recognized. Not only that, but because of the incredible effort of this campus, they got our 10-year accreditation. So it wasn't one of those probationary or 5 years or anything. We're accredited all the way through 2033, 34, which is really cool.
Now, is that a very unique thing for a newly independent institution to be that accredited that long right off the bat?
That is unique. Often, most cases, you're going to look at a 5-year. So because we had a history behind us as a branch campus that was independently accredited, that is why we were eligible to do that. But it was very possible, and actually I would say very likely, we would have just been given a 5-year. We could have even been told we were on a probationary, like a 1 year. But no, we got the full 10-year.
Right. So the accreditation's through the Higher Learning Commission?
That is correct.
Is that true? Okay. So this is my first time working for an educational institution outside of actually going to a university, right? So I've learned a ton. And the fact that I know what the HLC is, the Higher Learning Commission.
Yeah, you even know the acronym. Yeah. So the HLC is the same accrediting body that accredits all of the state institutions in New Mexico.
All of them, universities, colleges, all around?
The colleges, all of them, whether it's doctoral granting, masters, whatever. The same as, I started to say Texas Tech. They're actually a separate one. They're the Southern region.
Right.
They're in a different group. But everybody that's here in New Mexico, up to Colorado, Arizona, sweeping all the way back over to Ohio is all under Higher Learning Commission.
Right, okay. So are you a member of a Higher Learning Commission for other institutions?
I have not. This is the only one where I've been with Higher. I've previously of the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. That's where I retired out of. And so Texas actually is a part of them. Okay. But they're all equivalent. They're very similar in a lot of ways.
They just break it up in regions to make it probably a little more manageable.
They've freed it up, so now you can go outside your region if you want to, but very few people do.
Right. So this is kind of an interview where we're talking about firsts, right? So before we get into the very first gala that we're going to talk about, was last May the very first SENMC independent graduation?
It's the first one that was totally separate. Yes,
like there's because I guess before there was some NMSU, some SENMC.
That is correct. So the graduation that happened in 23, we actually kind of have that split screen effect, where we had some of one, some of the other. Last year in 24, it was totally SENMC, and it will be the rest of the way out.
That was my first graduation since working here on campus, and I got to tell you, the energy of these students graduating is something that I wasn't expecting to experience at that level.
It is really exciting here in this community to see just how much people are behind the college. And I say that as coming from other campuses. There's always, there's always people in the community that support you. It's not that. Yeah. But there's a love and an energy here that's just, you feel it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm the president. Right. I'm coming from the outside going, wow, this is really cool.
I agree about just the emotion, especially when you get to know students and how excited that they are, right? And I like how we have students of all age range, not just the typical younger university style student level. And then you see them graduate and you see the emotion that their family has and how you almost feel like you had a hand in it, and you probably did a little bit, even though it was all of their hard work. I was kind of taken aback by the emotion a little bit more than I expected.
Yeah,
I thought they're just going to walk and that's going to be cool. But no, there was individuals that I got to know that I saw how hard they worked and dealt with their individual life circumstances to get to this moment. And I just have such a tremendous amount of respect for anybody that does that.
what you see, and especially at two-year colleges, you get a lot more of those first in the family that have gone to college. I was a first in the family. My dad came out of World War II.
Okay.
And so he started, on the GI Bill just a little bit, but he's like, no, and he just decided to work for the Postal Service. You know, where a lot of veterans end up getting jobs.
Yeah.
And my mom worked at a bank. She was a bookkeeper. Well, she didn't go to college. It was 1940s.
Right. You could have been a book. Now, I think if you want to be a bookkeeper, you probably must have to go to school and get some education. But back then, you could just learn it.
Yeah, and if you were female, that's how it was going to happen. You were going to go work at the bank, So the person that you tied for first place in the county on a test or whatever, he goes off to college and becomes an engineer. You're female, you go work for the bank.
Right.
Or you can be a teacher or a nurse. It's destroying those classic things from the 40s and 50s and 60s and moving beyond.
Yeah, you think about that and you're like, man, we really did that.
We
did that. We really decided that a certain gender works here, and that's it.
And I mean, you see it in the movements today with the idea of the trad wife. You learn about that. It's like, actually, it's even more freeing for everyone just to say, hey, I can be who I want to be. It doesn't have to be this way or that way or another way. It is allowing people the options and the freedom to grow. And that's what you see at a college. People are making choices about where they want to go and what kind of things they want to learn. So.
Yeah, and how they want to take the next step. And I really appreciate a lot of that and what I've seen. And so what I was talking about this as a college of first. So you get to be the president that does almost the first of everything here at SENMC.
It's been like that, yeah. So it's a real adventure, let me tell you.
Right. So we're, first full SENMC graduation, the first workforce simulator lab, the best one in the state. You want to touch on that for a second before we get into the gala?
Yeah, I'd be glad to talk about that a little bit. So we have an $11.7 million grant from the U.S. Department of Energy, and that comes to us, of course, from having WIP in the community and being a part of that. They want to see a workforce pipeline. They have their average age at WIP, so I'm told, is still around mid-50s.
Wow.
And so they're looking at, hey, who's the next generation? And we need to be here to help students prepare and be ready to have the skill sets to perform in the area industry, and particularly WIP. So they're looking at how we're growing out with the new building, the Trades and Technologies building, a lot of different technical programs, radiation control, electrical, oil and gas related. But supporting all those is a simulation lab. And a lot of people immediately, they're thinking, oh, you're putting on the headset, it's meta, that kind of thing. Well, there's part of that.
Yeah,
but what I love about this is you're actually getting in the cabs of the equipment that you would be using. So instead of trying to train on a piece of equipment that might be worth $250,000, you're on a simulation where you're looking at an environment around you and you can experience emergency situations, but you are handling and you're in the seat of the exact same thing you would be experiencing if you were in an underground miner or in a crane or a forklift or driving a semi-truck. So you're going to feel the braking, the acceleration. If you are wiping out and about jackknife, it's going to whip you around.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of hardcore.
So, it is. It's pretty. I've seen it. I haven't had a chance to do any of the simulators yet as they get it up and running. But that's a really great segue because on May 8th here at Southeast New Mexico College, we're having the first ever Foundation Gala.
Yeah, it's another first. So our foundation, we were always a part of New Mexico State previously. So having our own foundation is saying we had to stand up, do from scratch, naming a board, getting all the rules in place. And just arranging for how a foundation works, because foundations have, I think there's a lot of views out there, about how they work. And the reason why is because they're different at almost every college. It's just fascinating how they're structured. Some are actually within the college.
Okay.
Some are actually completely separate from the college, and they just kind of do their own thing. And that's why sometimes you're wondering, what they're up to and what's going on.
Yeah.
And then you have the ones that are the in-between. We're the in-between.
Okay.
So we have our board of trustees has control over the composition of the foundation, but then the foundation is separate.
Okay.
So in other words, it's almost like they have a fail-safe. They can always, replace the board of the foundation if they need to, if something goes wrong. So they have that control. But the foundation itself is actually separate. So it's a separate board of directors, and they were very excited. They were watching as we're going through all the legal stuff and getting the IRS approvals and getting all the state approvals. And they said, it's time. We want to have our first event. And so they planned this gala that is happening on Thursday, May 8th, and we're having it right here at the college.
Okay.
And one of the things that people that come and attend, and it is a fundraiser. So, you're not looking at paying the price of the dinner. You're looking at $150 a ticket.
Okay.
But it is prime rib or salmon, so it's pretty good stuff.
Okay. All right.
And there is also going to be an open bar that you can take advantage of. So I dare to say it, but this is one of the only times you're going to be able to get on simulation equipment and have and tell somebody to hold my beer.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, all right, I did. Yeah, that's very interesting. So part of the reason that we're holding it on campus, the very first one, and I'm just going to I'm taking a guess here, but you're going to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure that I am. Right. Is the idea that we want to show off the campus. We have really, really grand plans for the campus. If you were to come right now, you can see some construction happening out front. You can see a road closed, which is going to be running electricity for the new Trades and Technology building at some point.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's conduit going in.
Right, conduit going in, and they got to go under the road. They're digging up some road. The construction today is a very heavy construction day, but there's a lot of construction floating around here, and there's a lot of future happening here on campus, I think. So the first Foundation Gala, you want it on campus to show the progress that we're making, maybe share a little bit of the master plan, show the really new, amazing simulation lab, which is in a temporary location, which will move to the new building, but is also, and I've happened to be benefited to do the pitch and be a part of the beginning of choosing the simulation lab and the company and all that stuff. It's pretty spectacular. It's state of the art. No one else in the region has something like this. And it just shows, I think, the forward thinking of the community, the foundation, as well as SENMC on trying to help the industries that serve Eddy County, because we are now serving Eddy County itself.
Yeah, we're going to have a feature facility, and really you can draw a 500-mile radius around here, and you're not going to find the same thing.
Yeah. I knew that already, but thank you for backing that up. It's obvious. It's very cool. So the point of having it here on campus is to kind of show off where the campus is going.
Yeah, it's also to say kind of where we are now. You can see the baseline, and we are going to show off the plans for the new building. There's even more than that as far as the plans for in the future, an early childhood ed facility, residence hall, dining hall.
Right.
And my own foundation board members, I'll talk about, what a foundation is for. I'll say, it's so wonderful. We can help students with things that are not easily paid for through financial aid. You're talking about especially students going into the trades. They got to buy the tools. They got to buy the equipment. They got to do these things as well if they want to be able to interact and go out in the world with their skills and use them. And that's going to be a great opportunity because those are things that you can't pay with aid because they're on their way out the door. They're taking it with them. But when I talk to our foundation board, they're like, "Oh no, we want to fund that. We want to fund that residence hall. We want to fund that dining hall." Those are big dreams, and I think it's wonderful that we're talking about those because if you have a simulation lab, like I said, 500-mile radius. Where are people going to stay? Well, we'd much rather them stay here on campus in the residence hall or in a space that, we can take care of them. But we don't have a dining hall. We don't have a residence hall yet. So we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. So, for our listeners, help explain a little bit the difference between, and just to make it a little simpler, right? SENMC, Southeast New Mexico College, has funds. They have money that they take through tuition. We have some grant money, things of that nature, right? And then you have a foundation that pays for separate things. So to make it simpler for our listeners, why do we have to have the foundation fund these things versus just the college being able to fund it? Help boil it down just a little bit more.
Well, it really gives the investment of the community making decisions instead of us having to follow the rules of the state.
Okay.
So let me give you an example. If we want to build a residence hall, they will not support that with state funds. So like we just had the bond go out with the general obligation bond fund election in the fall to provide money for the Trades and Technologies building. They'll do that. But if you want to have a residence hall, they say, hey, you're going to collect money to do that yourself, so therefore you got to fund it yourself.
Okay.
Well, there's people that want to see things happen. So if you donate it to the foundation, you can say, hey, I want this to go here, and that will happen that way. When funds come into the college, anything you donate into the college, it becomes state funds. So it ties them up in a whole different way.
It could be clawed back if there's a hard time too.
With a whole different set of priorities. And really that's one of the reasons why this campus struggled with New Mexico State is, of course, New Mexico State Foundation, they're all about, the football games and what's going on in Las Cruces and building up the culture over there. They're not worrying very much about the branch campuses. I'm sorry, but it's true. It's true everywhere.
That's probably true with most universities that have branch campuses, but it's also, and I would say very prevalent, and I'm saying this, with New Mexico State University because they used to have a lot more branch campuses around the state. And over time, those branch campuses have worked hard to become independent because as a community college, you are for your community, and when you're being led by individuals that are for a different community, really simply saying that, it makes it a little bit difficult to grow what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, it's just there's a total different set of priorities, and I respect that. But now the priorities are ours. We're here in Eddy County. We're here to serve our students and serve the industries we have.
Right. So just like at the beginning of the conversation, we were talking about the HLC, the Higher Learning Commission, the state education, NMPED, Higher Education Board department. They have a certain set of rules and stuff that they have to follow, or rules that they implement for the entire campuses in general, and they're very restrictive. Yeah. Right, or can be restrictive. Mm-hmm. So the foundation gives us the freedom to then kind of move forward with the way that the community would like the campus to move forward.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'll give you another example. We're looking at offering a radiography program. There isn't one anywhere nearby. So we would, it's a really great opportunity. I come from a college previously, had a radiography program. Having these different options in healthcare is great for the student who thinks they want to be a nurse because that's all they've only known nurses.
Right.
And then they start saying, oh, surgical technology. Oh, that'd be great. Well, we have that. But we want to stand up a radiography program. Well, we're going to have to find space for it. Well, guess what? We may have to lease something. We may have to go after. Leasing something at the state level is very challenging. But I will tell you from my own experience, we've stood up programs in my previous college by leasing out spaces through the foundation.
Okay.
So we could get it started, and then basically the foundation might even purchase it and sell it back to the college later. There's different ways you can go about doing it once you have the program up and running.
Right.
So it's great for seed funds. It's great to get things started that otherwise might be very difficult to start, because when you're looking at standard university design, it's like, we're going to decide we have a program. Now we're going to decide the facility. Now we're going to decide what faculty to hire. Now we're going to ask for faculty lines to make this happen, and so on. It's like, we need to move faster than that.
Right.
And a foundation allows you to do it.
Well, that's actually it makes it really simple. We all know that bureaucracy gets in the way. The red tape of the government is a stereotype because it's real, because it's true, right? A lot of stereotypes are true. So we know that that's the case. So this is a way to help move the community and the college forward, while also working around the red tape, but also with the red tape at the same time.
Yeah, it's just understanding how things work, and it gives us a lot more options and tools to make things happen.
Yeah. So we are inviting individuals to sign up for the May 8th Foundation Gala?
We are. The invitation will be on our website. If you go to the website and just look up in the upper right-hand corner, it says Foundation.
Yep.
And so it shows where you can donate. But below that, before you go donate any big bucks, look below. See, you might want to come to the gala, right, because you can buy your table, a table at $5,000, or you can buy individual tickets for $150. So with the $5,000, you get sponsorship.
Okay.
So, it's a little bit of free advertising. So if I'm talking to anybody out there who's looking for some sponsorship opportunities, we're a great one. We have all our approvals through IRS. We're 501c3. We're good to go. That's why it took us a while, even though we stood up the foundation last year. This is why we're having our first event now.
Right. We deal with the bureaucracy and the red tape to get it all organized.
Just getting the software together and everything to make sure things work the way it should.
From my time in Carlsbad, which is going on 4 years now, I've been coming down here for weekends because of my wife for a long time, but living here full time for about 4 years now. Carlsbad's a very proud community. Everybody supports each other quite a bit. And now we have an institution that will then be training people to keep them here in Carlsbad instead of having to go somewhere else.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of small businesses and independent businesses in Eddy County that I think is unique compared to some maybe large cities that are a lot full of corporate places. So as a result, it would make a lot of sense for you to come to the gala at the very least if you're a small business owner, right? Grab a table for sure and reward some of your employees.
Yeah,
right.
Potentially, be a great opportunity.
But then you'll be able to advertise as well a little bit. You get your name on the board as being a supporter. But then you're also going to get some firsthand knowledge in a really fun environment on what the campus is doing to help grow your business and to help grow more individuals to work for your business.
Absolutely.
I think that makes a lot of sense to me. So SENMC.edu at the right-hand corner, there's a foundation button. It's really easy. I've done it myself. You can see it. The foundation dinner's May 8th. We're starting at what time?
6 o'clock will be when the doors open. We'll serve around 7 o'clock, so we give some time. So it's okay to be a little bit fashionably late. But it's your chance to interact with students and faculty and staff. They'll have demos just like the simulation room.
Right.
But we'll also have some of the healthcare mannequins out. We'll have an opportunity to see our health clinics.
I would show up at 6 because you can drive a CDL simulator.
Yeah.
A continuous mining simulator. The nursing dolls, I'm not even sure if I'm saying that correctly, but the mannequins that the nursing department has, they're not just crash dummy mannequins.
Oh, no.
They're state of the art.
They're as freaky as a real patient who's very sick.
Yeah, it's actually quite impressive, and it's almost a little weird the first time you come across them because it feels like, you know, with all the AI robots and stuff floating around now and the future of AI robots, I think we have some here already.
We do.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. So I know that we're just about out of time, but I want to give you the last word on this, or to say anything else that you think we may have left out.
Well, the only thing I'd like to say is we are this close on breaking ground on the Trades and Technologies building. So if you're up and around this area in the summertime and you start to see some bulldozers behind Lowe's and wonder, is that the new building getting started? It probably is.
Okay, I've seen the design for it. It looks amazing. That is, the future I think is really bright here. Especially being floating around here for the past year and a half or so. But like once that building starts happening and the foundation, even the foundation being laid, you know what I mean? Once that starts to happen, I feel like it's going to feel like the progress is happening. We've been talking a lot about the progress, you know, showing off the progress and the designs and all that stuff. And once those shovels hit the ground, it's real. It already feels real with what they're doing out there right now.
Yeah, there's something great when you see that first steel going up in the air too.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's 100%. And then this is going to be a great building. I can't wait for it to be done and shown off. And I really I'm a new member to this community considering 4 years. Like anybody that lives in Carlsbad knows that it takes more than 4 years to really be a member of the community that are from here. But man, I feel a lot of pride for what's happening on this campus.
Well, we're on a roll. We're going to keep it going.
Dr. President Kevin Beardmore, thank you very much for coming on. May 8th, the first ever SENMC Foundation Gala starts at 6 p.m. Go to senmc.edu, click on the foundation, buy a ticket, buy a table. You're probably not going to get to drink alcohol on campus at any other time. So
that is true.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're listening to Community Forum on KCCC 930 AM, sponsored by Eddy County, honoring God, country, and family, thriving with industry since 1889.